From the moment I first heard this theory, I could not stop thinking about it. What if Dan Humphrey from Gossip Girl didn't just turn out to be Gossip Girl? What if he became Joe Goldberg from You? At first, it sounds ridiculous, right? Two completely different shows, totally different vibes. But when you start connecting the dots, Dan's obsession with narrating people's lives, his stalker tendencies, his love of books, his weird nice guy mask hiding some serious darkness, it starts feeling way less far-fetched. Today we're going to break it all down. Who is Joe Goldberg? Who is Dan Humphrey? Why people think they're secretly the same person? And whether this theory actually holds up.
Well, hello there. Who are you?
First, we have to start off with who is who, and we'll start off with Joe Goldberg. Now, Joe Goldberg is a stalker, a manipulator, and a killer. Serial killer. He wraps all of it in the language of love, but what he's really looking for is control. He doesn't fall in love with women, he builds fantasies around them. Once these women stop fitting the version of them he's constructed in his head, he turns on them.
Mother of my child.
I killed Natalie for you!
I did my best, but she was, I hate to call a woman crazy, but, well.
Now, Joe grew up in chaos. His father was violent, his mother was unfaithful and unstable. He learned early that people are dangerous, that trust is a liability, and that abandonment is inevitable. But instead of growing out of that fear, he adapted to it. He became hypervigilant, obsessive, and strategic. He convinced himself that hurting people was justifiable if it meant preserving the illusion of love. He kills when it's necessary, but also when it's convenient. He traps people in cages, monitors their movements, reads their private messages, and erases their lives without hesitation. Then, he tells himself he had no choice, that it was for their own good, that it was what love required.
Everything I have done for you.
Even this?
Even this.
Joe's pattern is always the same. He meets someone, he studies them, he inserts himself into their life, he isolates them from anything he can't control, and when they resist or disappoint him or become a threat, he eliminates them. Sometimes with a smile, sometimes with a story about how tragic it all is, but always with that certainty that he's the victim.
I miss you so much. It's been a weird 4 months. I had to do a lot for you, in the end.
Joe Goldberg is by no means a misunderstood man trying to be better. He's a predator hiding behind sensitivity, intelligence, and a somewhat good taste in books.
That I'm honest with myself about it. I'm just here to help.
Now that we understand who Joe is, let's talk about Dan Humphrey. Now, Dan Humphrey is a liar, a manipulator, and an opportunist.
Are you following us or something?
No, I go to your school.
He hides it under the mask of being the outsider, the good guy, who just wants to write.
I mean, you don't have plans. Big night out with overprivileged, underparented trust fund brats from your fancy school.
Yeah, the limo's actually waiting back at the loft.
Good, we can egg it. Maybe slash the tires.
But what he's really after is access, validation, power. He doesn't just want to be part of the Upper East Side, he wants to own the narrative. He grew up watching the elite from across the bridge, close enough to see it all but never invited in.
Okay, if you ever wanted something so badly, but you just know you're not gonna get it. No, that's right. I forgot who I'm talking to, of course you haven't. But that was my whole life.
His father was a former rock star turned art gallery owner. His mother abandoned the family. Dan learned early that proximity wasn't enough. If he wanted to matter, he had to make himself essential. So he weaponized his writing. He became Gossip Girl. He stalked his classmates. He mined their secrets. He ruined reputations and exposed betrayals, not because he hated them, but because he needed them to see him. And of course, he published blasts about himself to throw off suspicion, to paint himself as harmless, all the while he was documenting manipulating, moving pieces behind the scenes to write himself into the world. Now, I believe, and you might agree, you might disagree, that Dan really doesn't fall in love. He does something similar to someone similar. He idealizes Serena, Blair, even Vanessa. They were projects, not partners. When they didn't fit the image he wanted, he rewrote the story. He framed their flaws, edited their narratives, and absolved himself.
What, you didn't know that?
I don't know, I thought you were different.
Dan Humphrey is not the lonely boy misunderstood by the rich. He's a social climber hiding behind irony, intelligence, and also a pretty good taste in books.
If I wasn't born into this world, maybe I could write myself into it.
It started with a few coincidences. Then it turned into something more. Both Dan and Joe are from Brooklyn. Both are obsessed with beautiful blondes, drawn to women they put on pedestals, then quietly dismantle when reality intrudes. They love books. They breathe words. For Dan, writing was a way into the world he thought he deserved. For Joe, it's the lens through which he justifies violence. The line between observing and controlling blurs fast for both of them. Dan spied on the Upper East Side through Gossip Girl blasts. Joe watches the lives of his targets, narrating every move as if it's part of a story he's writing, because, in his mind, it is. Neither sees himself as the villain. Dan leaked secrets, ruined lives, and called it journalism. Joe cages people, erases them, and calls it love. In their own heads, they're always the ones who know better, who are justified, who are smarter than the broken people around them. Now, after the Gossip Girl reveal, Dan's life collapsed. His credibility, his relationships, his carefully crafted outsider-turned-insider persona. The fan theory picks up there.
I've screwed up. Right, plenty of times. But I've always tried to do the right thing, like you taught me.
Dan, humiliated and desperate, ditches his old life and reinvents himself as Joe Goldberg. A fresh name, a fresh city, a new chapter. But the same addiction to control, the same narrative obsession, the same broken need to be loved at any cost. And now I know what you might say, that this theory is easily disproved because of their childhoods. Let's begin with that. And then the fact that Dan also marries Serena. But let's play into it a little bit. Let's pretend that doesn't exist, and that Joe's tragic backstory, the abusive parents, the betrayals, reads suspiciously like fiction, convenient, tailored, perfect for a man who spent his youth spinning lies to survive. Dan always knew how to edit a story to make himself the victim. Why wouldn't he edit his own story once he became Joe? The theory deepens when you look at Joe's ability to slip into new identities. He reinvents himself over and over again. Will Bethelheim and Jonathan Moore. Reinvention isn't just a skill for Joe, it's second nature. Just like it was for Dan, who rewrote his own character every season depending on what he needed. The outsider, the boyfriend, the voice of truth, the ruthless insider pulling all the strings. Even Penn Badgley, who plays both characters, saw it. When asked, he laughed and said, "It's the same role, but now he has blood dripping down his face." And he wasn't wrong. So, whether Dan Humphrey became Joe Goldberg or Joe just picked up where Dan left off, the parallels are impossible to ignore. And of course, I am very curious what you all think. Is Dan Humphrey really Joe Goldberg? Let me know what you think in the comments down below, because I truly can't wait to hear people's opinions on this. I want to thank everyone who took the time of day to watch or listen to this video. And now remember, the important thing is to always keep questioning, even me. Till next time.